I ask no favor for my sex. All I ask of our brethren is that they take their feet off our necks.
And that little girl was me.
You know, this my little thing. Okay. If you should ask for custody if the child is in danger and she's not fit to be a mother, right? And you have direct proof to verify that. Do not use a child as a pawn.
What the impacts of slavery, of what racism, what capitalism has done to Black people. So for him to have this opportunity to really give a moment to say, you are correct, we must figure out a way to understand Black people today. Instead, he laughed at him and made it a novelty and said, you really drank the Kool-Aid. So
Yeah. This is also about men trying to control the sexual desires and activities of their daughters because they want them to grow up to be a certain kind of woman. They want them to be domestic, they want them to be docile, they want them to be subservient, and they want them to be submissive, right? And so that is not, when you get a woman, that a wild woman rising, you don't know what to do with her because she is not living out your narrative and you're not able to control her.
Well, let's be clear. I always tell people we have to be real mindful of the Hispanic culture because Hispanics come from different places. Two demographics of Hispanics that vote Republican. Pretty sure the Hispanic coalition in Florida that he's meeting with is predominantly Cuban and Venezuelan because those.
Can I buy a vinyl?
You know, can I buy a?
So well versed and so phenomenal. Whether you work on a register or you're in the C-suite, you have a skill set that's so needed that someone is willing to rent your time. They are leasing your time. Figure out your promise first, not your product. What is your promise?
And so when we're talking about facing challenges of people at high risk and targeted groups and minority population, it's trauma. So you got to think about what this person brings to the table. We're not always going to get it right. One thing that we as society don't want to appreciate anymore is apologizing. I apologize. I'm sorry. And so those words, I'm sorry, are so powerful. And so individuals don't expect everybody to get it right. But when you apologize and you're really listening to try to be better, then you do that.
Safely, when it's all said and done, the police is going to protect the state. And that is why the slaughter of Black bodies and Black people at the hands of the police is such an epidemic because they are trained and they commit to a training of policing.
So my book is about my struggle, but how I overcame it. And to let Black women know, and just women of all colors. And I'm not going to just say that it's just for Black women, but Black women, we need this. It's okay to say, I'm not okay.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
What's up? Good luck.
Man, I'm excited for tonight's show. I just wanted to welcome all of our viewers who are on our show. Thank you for taking the time to watch our show. If you don't mind, take a quick moment to share this show to all of your groups and all your friends. Tell them that this is a show that they do not want to miss. I am blessed to be accompanied by the wonderful co-host, Wendell King II. And we have a special guest today who's going to be joining us for Hot Topics, Bria Grice, and we're going to be bringing her up now. And I'm excited. We have a lot of great topics to discuss tonight. So I just want our special guest to introduce herself.
Hello?
Hi,
Hey, how are
Bria.
you?
Hey, how are you all?
We're doing well. How are you?
Can y'all hear
Introduce
me?
yourself to us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bria Grice, and I am joining these two amazing men this evening as a guest host. Do you want to know more about myself? Oh, I'm currently the owner of Regal Artistry Cosmetics. I launched my business 4 years ago. I'm also a speech professor, but I've taken time off to concentrate on my business full time. And that's what I'm currently doing and getting ready for Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
Dr. G, you have your phone on mute. That's an echo.
Yes. Well, I was just saying that we have a wonderful show expected tonight. With one of our topics is going to be about the fact that Lovecraft Country is actually having a season finale. So, what are your thoughts on that, Coach?
Well, the season finale was actually Sunday.
Okay.
So we've already
What were your
we've
thoughts on
already
the
watched the season finale. The season finale was fire. It was everything that it was supposed to have been. Lovecraft is it's a particular taste that you have to have because Jordan Peele, he goes into the dark side and he's very abstract. And for whatever reason, he loves making white people monsters and goblins and goons, which I appreciate. But you have to understand that before watching his shows. If you don't understand it before watching his shows, you leave with a question mark like, what just happened or what's going on? So, but it was great. It was this one dealt with the Green Book deeply. It talked about the Green Book of when Black people had a guide to guide them through safe spaces in the South. I think we need a Green Book now. But anyway, so it dealt with it. But every episode dealt with something historic, and it somehow made it make sense. But people just had to get over the fact that white people were goblins and monsters, and that's when it makes more sense to them.
Yeah, I think we were having a private conversation, and I was just talking about the fact that it's something that really appeals to me, or at least I haven't had enough time to give it as much thought as I probably need to. I tried to watch the first episode. I think the very beginning caught me off guard, and then it finally transitioned to something normal. And then I was like, okay, something is happening. But by that time, I had to get on to do something else. So I'll probably have to get on the train a little bit later. But let's see what our special guests have to say about Lovecraft Country. Were you able to see the season finale?
She get it
All right.
together.
We'll bring her back up once we get everything situated. Now, things have been like really interesting how things are unfolding. I think it's no surprise or no secret that we're in unprecedented times. We have the Supreme Court nomination being pushed through. We have the scientists versus the politicians. We have everything going on. So I think our first topic outside of this Lovecraft Country, because I can't really add on to it, is the fact that I think America is experiencing what's called COVID-19 fatigue. And I think Dr. Fauci mentioned this in one of his interviews with 60 Minutes. And if you don't mind, I want to show a quick clip so we can get an idea as to what he said, and then we're going to put some commentary behind it, okay? All right, so hang on with us. We'll be right back.
Worldwide, the number of new cases is surging at an alarming rate, as seen in this map by Johns Hopkins University. This week, Russia reported a record number of infections, and cases are spiking in the UK, France, and Italy.
When you have 1 million deaths and over 30 million infections globally, you cannot say that we're on the road to essentially getting out of this.
How bad would things have to get for you to advocate a national lockdown?
They'd have to get really, really bad. First of all, the country is fatigued with restrictions. So we want to use public health measures not to get in the way of opening the economy, but to being a safe gateway to opening the economy. So instead of having an opposition open up the economy, get jobs back, or shut down. No, put shut down away and say, we're going to use public health measures to help us safely get to where we want to go. When I saw that on TV, I said, oh my goodness, nothing good can come out of that. That's got to be a problem. And then sure enough, it turned out to be a super spreader event. I do not, and nor will I ever publicly endorse any political candidate. And here I am, they sticking me right in the middle of a campaign ad, which I thought was outrageous. I was referring to something entirely different. I was referring to the grueling work of the task force that, God, we were knocking ourselves out 7 days a week. I don't think we could possibly have done any more than that.
Did the steam start to come out of your ears?
No, it did. Quite frankly, I got really ticked off. I certainly have not been allowed to go on many shows that have asked for me.
One of the most trusted voices in America, and yet you're not there. You're not allowed to talk with us. So can you understand the frustration that maybe there's been a restriction on the flow of information and on transparency?
You know, I think there has been a restriction, John, but it doesn't, it isn't consistent. So let's see if we could put this to rest once and for all. It became clear that cloth coverings, things like this here, and not necessarily a surgical mask or an N95, cloth coverings work. So now there's no longer a shortage of masks. Number two, meta-analysis studies show that, contrary to what we thought, masks really do work in preventing infection.
No doubt.
So no doubt.
So when you find out you were wrong, you don't double down.
No, when you find out you're wrong, it's a manifestation of your honesty to say, hey, I was wrong. I did subsequent experiments, and now it's this way.
I think what Dr. Fauci said in that very last clip is very true. You know, people often juxtapose what he said at the very beginning with what he's saying right now. And I don't really see too much of a change in what he said, especially when you go back and listen to what he said. There was a fear that healthcare professionals would not have the PPE that they should have had because the federal government failed to restock the supplies in the previous 3 years. And so they had to manage with what they have. And once they got enough data from the studies that they did afterwards, they saw that, well, you can come up with your own type of mask as long as it's covering your mouth and your nose, and you're still going to get adequate amount of protection, or at least be able to protect others. And so I agree with what he said, and I can understand what he means about that Americans are getting fatigued, you know, because we've had this lackluster leadership from the top. Now everybody's having to not know what's the actual plan, where we are in that plan, and then it's just that type of issue in that regards. What are your thoughts?
I think that Dr. Fauci is a great man and a great doctor, and he's awesome with medicine and science, but I think that he fails in politics. I think that Dr. Fauci worked so diligently to make himself not political that he made himself political. I think that Dr. Fauci chose coddling Donald Trump more than being straightforward with the American people. I think that Dr. Fauci did make some mistakes. He didn't make them intentionally, but he made them because he was trying to figure out how to appease Donald Trump and still get the message out. So I think that Dr. Fauci has to take some responsibility, because I can remember, like, just yesterday in May, when they were holding him to the fire on things that Donald Trump was saying that was completely incorrect, and he refused to say he was incorrect. He was trying to dance around it. He was trying to make what Donald Trump said make sense. He was lying and saying that instead of him saying Donald Trump did not invite him to the White House briefing, he was just saying, I'm not going to be there, when they were saying, but were you invited? I'm not going to be there. So he made himself a political pawn. And I think he has to own that. I think that he has to own that he chose to go out and throw that ball at the first baseball game of the season. That's a celebrity moment, but he chose to do that. So it's kind of difficult for me to process him saying or playing innocent to this political game when he has taken part in it. When it came out with the audio of Donald Trump saying all of this stuff in February that he knew and he wasn't going to say anything because he was playing this game on Fox News, like yesterday, Hannity asked Dr. Fauci, did you know this and is this true? And he said the president never did not tell the American people what we were sharing with him. But we have an audio of the president saying that he did. But Dr. Fauci still was afraid. But now that they've thrown him in a Republican commercial for Donald Trump, he's pissed off And so now he's ready to take a stand. And now Donald Trump is going gutter on him. And so now he's fighting back. It's too late. And I can't leave without adding the reality that in that clip you just showed, he said, I did not want to take a political stand. And here they are placing me in the middle. Who is the they? He still will not give it to Donald Trump. He still would not say the Republican Party. That is the only people that try to do that.
Well, I think, as a trained medical professional, I think it's a very hard line to walk, especially when you have a president of this nature where you would say one thing and it seems as if you have the support of that person, and the next thing you know, they will literally come right after you at the same microphone and suggest something different. And I sometimes have the conflict because I know as a medical professional, I'm not supposed to put myself in political arenas and talk about politics simply because of the fact that we don't want a potential customer of yours to see you in that light and then potentially claim that, you mistreated me because of your political leanings or so forth. But my opinion on this is that I think the times are so significant that if you are not speaking up, then it's, what's the phrase? You're not guilty by association, but your silence is is endorsing the atrocity to happen. It's not the best wording, but you get the gist. Yeah. And I think some people are naturally confrontational. I think I would be, well, it depends on who I'm with, but in a public light, I think I may have made the same mistakes that Dr. Fauci would have made. That's just because I don't like to put people on blast. And I've been put on blast enough to receive it, but I just don't personally like to engage in that publicly, especially on such a large scale. But I think it's a hard line to walk. But what I do appreciate about him is that he's willing to at least, state that if I did make a mistake, I'm willing to own up to it. And I think later down the line, when this, levels out, he'll be able to reflect on that. Now,
I don't agree, but I don't agree. I have to say, I 100% don't agree, because the difference between you and Dr. Fauci is Dr. Fauci has been in this position before. Okay, let's be all the way clear.
Let's president though.
But
that's a significant difference.
No. But we have to be very, very clear. First of all, I understand that you are in the medical profession also, but you are not a medical doctor. You are a pharmacist. So there's a big difference there. But this is the thing with the AIDS epidemic. He was 100% the leader of the AIDS pandemic in the United States and in the world under Ronald Reagan. And he balanced it correctly. And Ronald Reagan tried to make him a pawn also. He 100% tried to make him a pawn. You can go back through history and you will see that he was trying to use him as a Republican authority. But you just said it. He wasn't dealing with a person like Donald Trump. In desperate times, you have to use desperate measures. Donald Trump was politicizing them from the beginning. It is unfair for him to now act surprised when you have been a part of his political game from the beginning. Now, he was not playing a part in it. I will say Dr. Fauci was 100% trying to stay away. But when you saw that he was not going to stop, I'm not saying that Dr. Fauci is bad. I think Dr. Fauci is awesome. I think that he made a big mistake in allowing himself to be a pawn in Donald Trump's game. And I need him to own that. I need him to say, I made a mistake. I need him to say that when I refused to say he was out of line for saying drink bleach, when I went public and said I felt like he was just kidding. Dr. Fauci, you knew that he was serious. Dr. Birx, you knew that he was serious. But instead, you all chose to follow the script that Donald Trump gave you. You have to take ownership of that.
Well, I agree. There's ownership to be taken care of, but I will say, I don't know the inner workings of working in a government, so I can't say that I'm speaking for him or defending him.
I'm sure it's very difficult. I'm sure it's very difficult.
My commentary would be that, like he mentioned, he said that at some point he was censured a bit, and so I don't know if there's a contract involved. I don't know.
No, he didn't want to get kicked off the team. And I get it. He didn't want to get kicked off the team, not because he needed to be on the team. Dr. Fauci is retired. Let's be clear. This is not a run of the mills guy. This is the man that was running WHO at one point. Like, this is a man that is a celebrated doctor. Like, he is like, he's
I heard that
paid.
he has one of the most numbers of publications out of
They
all
said that he charges
researchers.
like, they say he started 30,000 for appearances to do, like, for medical conventions and things. This man he doesn't need this. I believe that he truly wanted to help because he did not need it. I think he truly wanted to help. The question that I have for him, which I'm sure we all know the answer is, was it worth it? And I'm sure he will say no, because after everything that he said, the first thing he said in March was, our best case scenario will be 100,000 deaths. Our worst case scenario will be 200 by December. We're over 200 in October. So our worst case scenario has happened. So the question is, was it worth it? The deal you made with the devil, Donald Trump, was it worth it? And that's all.
Well, you know, another people who can ask, was it worth it, is these people who conspired to try to kidnap the governor. Is it Governor Whitmer? I think that was just...
And the governor of Virginia.
Yes. And so I think, I want to ask them, was it worth it to do everything they did? And we want to welcome back our special guest. Hopefully we got everything situated. So what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on Governor Whitmer and the governor of Virginia. I believe that Donald Trump it's his fault. And I know that people get tired of blaming everything on Donald Trump. It's like blaming everything on the devil, right? So you're like, y'all can't blame everything on him. But the reality is, I can blame this on him because you have to look at start to finish. He was the one that tweeted out, "Liberate your state." Right?
Yes.
He was the one that tweeted out, "They're good people," when it was reported that they came to the governor's mansion with rifles and Confederate flags. He said, "They're good people. You should sit down and talk with them." So it is not far-fetched, because we know that these are not real Republicans that Donald Trump is talking to. These are trailer trash. These are the hillbillies, because they are the ones, like, you know how Bernie Sanders brought independent, non-voting people to the Democratic Party? Donald Trump brought those same kind of people, but ghetto and country and hippie, to the Republican Party. So these are not people that have emotional intelligence. So when he says something, he has to take responsibility of what's coming out of his mouth, because he's talking to a body of people that may not be able to process it.
Especially when you consider, was it some guy who shot up at a Walmart? They found that he was directly influenced.
In El Paso.
He was directly influenced by Donald Trump. But what are your thoughts on
17-year-old
that?
white boy, but also and the 17-year-old white boy that went to Oregon with the rifle and killed the man that was protesting.
That's a good point. What are your thoughts on that, Bria? We can't hear you.
We can't hear you. Say something. Oh, Lord.
Well, we were really looking forward to hearing your perspective. I know you have such a great insight into things. If you want, if you go under Cam and Mike, you can test to see your you can do an audio test, and just let us know when you got everything set up. All right. So I agree. And I think what's
Welcome
really
to
sad
live,
is that,
guys. Welcome to live.
if Joy Behart's, I guess, husband can put his arm in the middle of the whole camera, then we can have all the
He
issues.
messes her up religiously. But what are your thoughts on it? I'm curious to your thoughts.
I agree. There's no dissent here, especially when we consider the fact that we don't have a leader who's willing to state that their action was wrong. In a certain way, you can say that he's pretty much egging it on, because instead of blaming them for their crime, he blamed her for having the state lockdown. But I saw one of her responses, and from what I saw, their state is not really locked down like it was in the beginning. And so this is just them, following that rhetoric that Trump is spewing out there. And the fact, an interesting fact is, she also mentioned that her state had one of the top rebounding economies after the economy went down. And so that's something interesting, because all you hear is, oh, the blue states are doing bad. You have all this violence going down in the blue states, but you really get to hear from the person who's doing the hard work to try to manage an entire state better than somebody who's actually managing the entire country. So I agree. And I really wish that rhetoric would change, but I know better by now that it won't.
But he even went back to his rally the next day. He went back to his rally and he brought it up and was picking at her again, saying that, she needs to open up. The people want to get out and they want to do things. And his audience started chanting, lock her up.
Mm-hmm.
And he laughed and he said, lock them all up. But remember, the people who were plotting this, they wanted to put her on a trial, some type of trial, and they were going to deal with punishment. And this man is still egging it on. And here's what my favorite part is. People say, well, he spoke out and said that it wasn't okay. No, he put out a statement, politically correct, and then he went on Twitter and said how he really feels. He got to his rally and said how he really feels. So I could care less what your politically correct statement that someone wrote for you says. I care about what's on your mind.
I agree. We're going to touch on this a little bit more in our last topic, when we're going to see Ice Cube melting.
This is tea, guys. In case you don't know, this is tea. This is not Long Island iced tea.
I really need some coffee.
But this is tea. But I do have a little Grand Marnier in it, just to open my sinuses up. Open my nostrils up.
That's what we're going to say. All right. So now I think this clip is what a lot of people have really been, especially the Democratic side, has been really upset about. And I think it's about Senator Perdue and how he intentionally mispronounced one of his colleagues' name. And we're going to show that clip real quick. And hopefully you're just as disgusted as we were, because it's completely unnecessary. And it just shows the childishness of politics in the modern times.
The most insidious thing that Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden are trying to perpetrate, and Bernie and Elizabeth and Kamala, I don't know. Whatever.
Well, there you get the sense of what David Perdue was doing that Democrats viewed as mocking. His team says that Senator Perdue was simply mispronouncing Senator Harris's name, and he didn't mean anything by it. He was making an argument against the radical socialist agenda that she and her endorsed candidate, his opponent, John Ossoff, are pushing. So one of those moments that happens before even President Trump gets to the event is also making news in a critical race when the Senate is on the ballot and up for grabs this fall.
And the best thing that happened because of that is that his opponent running for that same Senate seat apparently was able to raise over $2 million to fundraise that. And so, if that's what it needed to happen in order for that to occur, then I guess it's worth it. But I think it's just sad. It's really sad. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think that there was so much more. People try and make light of things that are really heavy because they try and conflate it, and they try and say that that's what we do. The media conflates it. The media does this, does that. But the reality is, what he did was much deeper. First off, this is a man that has sat on the judicial board with her for 3 years. They've had several conversations. He did not make a mistake. He was feeding Donald Trump's base. He was doing what Donald Trump does. He wasn't concerned about professionalism. He was concerned with feeding the base. And so he was making fun of her name because it was cute, because people forget Donald Trump did the exact same thing at a rally also. The first rally he had after Kamala Harris was announced as Joe Biden's vice president. He said, Kamala. So these are things that are important to remember. So I saw misogyny. I saw racism. I saw immaturity. I saw unprofessional. I saw obsession, because they are obsessed with this beautiful black woman. They cannot handle the fact that
the beautiful
a black
woman that can actually dance.
Yeah, they cannot deal with the idea that a black woman it's more than likely, because we're going to get to it later, but there have been several op-eds written by Republicans where they are already saying that they're already preparing for a Democratic president, and they're preparing for a Democratic Senate run, because they are already expecting to lose. So he did this out of fear, because not only will we now finally have a first female, but she will be black and more than likely walk into presidency in 2024. That's a huge fear. And that's why he did it.
What are your thoughts, Bria?
First of all, him pronouncing her name wrong is nothing new. I think all Black women, regardless of how our name is spelled or pronounced, we've gone through that. When I read that, and then when I saw it on the news how they did a playback, it took me back to my debate days when my name is pronounced on purpose, although I pronounced it the correct way. It is a form of disrespect. He has been working with this Senator Harris for several years now. He knew how to pronounce her name. He just wanted to disrespect her. He thought it was cute. And he was trying to be crass. He was totally crass. It was insipid, and it was in low taste. But like Wendell said, but like Wendell said, they are playing. He was playing to Trump, playing to his constituents, because they find joy in that. That aberrant behavior, for some reason, moves them. It encourages them to do the same thing. So he was just playing to his constituents and people that support him, but he knew good and well what he was doing. He knew what he was doing, and he knew how to say her name. And if he didn't know how to pronounce her name, Senator Harris would simply do.
Yes.
So
that's exactly where I was going with it. Bria, if you can hit mute when you're not talking, because it's an echo. But I was going to say exactly what Bria just said. That's completely correct. We have several names to use. So if you are in doubt of how to say Kamala, then say Senator Harris or Mrs. Harris or Harris. There were a million ways of getting it across versus feeding the base with making fun of someone's name. And so I'm just, it reminded me so much of Donald Trump with the Kamala. That's all I kept hearing when he did that.
And for me, it's really agitating because of the main fact that, as the thought come back to my mind, it reminds me when I see it as very demeaning, right? As African Americans, we come from a position where at one point we were not seen as people, but we were seen as property. And so when you can dehumanize someone by intentionally messing up the name that their mother has given them that means something special to them, you're not only disrespecting their culture, you're disrespecting their background, but you're just dehumanizing them intentionally in order to prove whatever, to promote whatever rhetoric that you're trying to spew out there. And that's something I can't get behind. There's no way I can support it. Whether I took an oath for all people, I won't help you differently as a medical professional, but I think I have the right to state that was uncalled for, and it's a poor example of what humanity, the bad nature of humanity can be.
Yeah. Especially when we're dealing with a time like we're in, where racial injustice is at the forefront, right there with coronavirus. So a person that has any type of intelligence and integrity and humility would be aware of those types of mistakes. So when he said Kamala, he could have just kept going, but instead he had to do it 3 more times in repeat 3 different ways. And so I agree, like, this was just, there's no excuse. And his people put out a statement. We have to make sure.
They didn't even apologize.
They didn't apologize. They said that he really just made a mistake. They didn't say he apologizes for the mistake. They said he made a mistake. It was an honest mistake. But that's white privilege. That's white entitlement, because they didn't even care to give her a decent apology. Now, Kamala, being a Black queen that she was, her response was, "We're trying to win a race. That's a deflection. I don't care." That's what you call a diva.
When you're about your business, you don't have time to be distracted by nonsense like that.
You gotta do what you gotta do because I'm gonna do what I gotta do on November 3rd. How about that?
Did you want to add anything to that, Bria?
The one thing that Senator Harris has done repeatedly since August, and even before when she had her bid for president, as she consistently remains gracious. She takes so many licks. She has so many people who have so many things that are not productive, but she takes it all in stride. She keeps her, like Wendell said, she keeps her focused on the goal, November 3rd, and she lets it go. It's kind of like when the former FLOTUS would say, when they go high, when they go low, we go high. She stays high. And sometimes she could actually go a little bit low because of the things that transpire, but she stays high. And I keep seeing her going higher and higher. So I think she knew that this would happen. So she's prepared.
I'm
She's
sure it's not the first
very
time.
much prepared. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, speaking of people going high, we have Ron DeSantis, who is out giving high fives to Donald Trump supporters. And he's, this is what really ticks me off. And we're going to get more into this after we have a quick video to show you. But we have these leaders, and I believe he's a governor of Florida. And we have these leaders that's supposed to be the examples for their constituents. And we clearly have in this video clip someone who's completely detached and not considering the fact that so many people have lost their lives to this virus. But even further than that, we also have Trump supporters and people who's in his close circumference that is actually suffering or had died potentially by the hands of this virus. So watch this clip real quick and let's see the ridiculousness get more ridiculous.
Ignorance. So Trump was an active coronavirus patient. Okay, finally it appears he tested negative, so fine. But no one, that crowd is totally jammed together. None of them have masks. DeSantis doesn't have a mask. Half the Republican Party is a current coronavirus patient as we speak. And then the high five is totally gratuitous. Why are you high fiving people?
It's I want to laugh, but I can't. But thank you to TYT for that clip. And it shows that after high fiving, I don't know how many people, you can go back and count it. He then used that exact same hand to now wipe his nose, knowing that that is one of the exact CDC guideline, breaking the CDC guidelines that he's supposed to be promoting. And now he's exposing himself at a rally that you can clearly see in that video. Not many people have masks on. I don't know. I don't know what to say. And so I'm going to just be quiet and listen to what y'all got to say.
Well, I don't like DeSantis. I don't like Kemp. I don't like Abbott. I don't like Governor Hot Wheels of Texas. I feel like, and I hate to say this, but this is truth to power, uncut. So I'm gonna be uncut. To hell with him. I hate to say it, but he's in that batch with Rush Limbaugh with me. Let the good Lord do his work. That's the way I feel. Republicans are so stuck on Christianity, live by the sword, die by the sword, right? Speak things into existence. So if they don't care, these are the same people that want to get mad and tell women if they should abort their child or not. But yet they're going around passing around a deadly virus. These are the same people that feel privileged enough to tell us that we are not morally correct when they have medical and science telling them that global warming is real. Look at the hurricanes, look at the earthquakes, look at the fires of California. These are the same people that say they stand on a moral ground, but then they do the most immoral things. And DeSantis is the same ignorant governor that stood up the second day because they had one good week in Florida in April and said the media thought we was gonna go to hell with them. And then the very next week they jumped to the top of the leaderboard with deaths of coronavirus. So this is a person that is he's trying more to please Donald Trump than to actually please the constituents in his state. He cares more about Donald Trump giving him a pat on the back than he does with covering his state with safety precautions. So to hell with him. Okay.
You know, I wanted to show some case numbers real quick, just so we can see how Florida's doing. And this is as recent as October 18th by midnight. And so Florida has had over 756,727 cases. More, I would say about 90% of them confirmed, and then 25,000 possible probable cases. You can see by these numbers that, and let's look at the total deaths that has been reported. A confirmed 16,222 people have died of COVID-19 in Florida. And if you are concerned about whether these numbers are accurate, the data quality grade is an A. So you can bet that these are legit, and it's really sad. Because exactly like you said, at one point, he was facetious enough to talk about how well Florida's doing. And right afterwards, they became the hot spot. And literally, you'll see in New York who recovered and started doing better. And so...
but wait a minute. I wanted to get Bria's opinion on it.
Yeah, let's what would you add on that?
First of all, I'm at the point where I don't even care about these people anymore because they clearly, it's pellucid. It is salient that they don't care about themselves. You were right, good luck. They were at this rally. You barely saw a mask. And that means that they don't care about their own health. So you don't want to wish anything bad on someone. And I don't think that's what we're doing, but they evidently don't care about their own lives. So why should we? And as someone, I have systemic lupus, so I have an autoimmune disease, and I have been doing everything insanely possible to stay healthy, even more so than I do in my everyday life. So I take steps and precautions and social distance and not be in places that I shouldn't be. But these people act like they just have to attend a rally, and they don't have to. And if they wanted to attend, they could have hand sanitizer, a mask. They don't have a mask. They're not sanitizing their hands. They must want to get sick. So why should we care? I absolutely don't care anymore. I refuse to care for people who do not care about their own health or other people. But the sad thing is that these same people will go and infect other people. So I care about the people who are innocent because they are affecting other people if they become sick. So I care about those people because it's by default. They're doing what they need to do, but someone else isn't. But as far as those people at the rally, I can't care anymore. And Wendell is right. These are the same people who act like they're not morally bankrupt, but you're not thinking about the next man or woman or child or baby when you do these things, but yet you want to tell a woman what she can and cannot do with her body. It makes no sense, and it's oxymoronic at this point. So I'm convinced these people either want to get sick and they're morally bankrupt. I just don't have any sympathy for any of them if they get sick. None whatsoever.
Exactly. It's oxymoronic. They're the party of morals and virtues, but they don't care. It's clear that they don't care about their own life, but it's clear they don't care about the lives of their constituents. And that's a major concern that I have, especially for someone who takes an oath to protect their constituents. So I think our next topic is the fact that early voting has had such a high turnout. And, I'm always a proponent. Both of you won't want to vote for. I'm not going to tell you or try to influence you who to vote for. I know, those who speak to me, but, everybody has their own right. But I think the early voting turnout has been very encouraging because it shows that people are taking this election seriously. And that's very encouraging to me. What are your thoughts?
I concur, and I will tell you who to vote for. Vote blue. Vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So Kamala Harris's name is connected to Joe Biden, and go down the line Democrat. When in doubt, go independent. I will say that I am excited. I'm extremely excited because I live in Houston. Well, we're all in Houston. Houston broke its own record, right? Houston broke its own record because Houston was the leaders of the first day of 2016 at, I think, 59,000. And this year on day one, we were at 128,000. And we have not done less than 100,000 per day since, including Sunday, when the polls were only open from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. So
Wow.
I'm extremely excited. Then Florida showed up on yesterday in a huge way. They hit over 100,000. They went, what they're saying is 305% higher than where they were in 2016. Florida also has the opportunity to vote if they have felons. Texas were already there, believe it or not. Texas has been there since 2008, I think, legalized it for felons to vote. But Florida, this is the first year that felons can vote. And then the Democratic Party, Joe Biden's group, went even further, and because they tried to pull a fast one in Florida, and they tried to say that you could vote with a felony, but you can't have any outstanding finances owed. And so Bloomberg stepped in, he paid, and then he opened up a program for them to come in to fill out some forms and to give them permission to pay their fees. So I thought that was crazy good. Georgia did not play any games. Georgia gave us competition because they started voting face to face on Monday of last week. So they were the first state to go over 100,000. But here's the big beauty of it. All of the exit polling is showing that face-to-face and mail-in voting by more than 50% in Georgia, Texas, and Florida are Democrats. A beauty in Houston and in Miami-Dade, Harris County and Miami-Dade County in Miami, Florida, is that they're showing a percentage of black voters to go up more. In Houston, they're saying 101% the first week.
Wow.
And they're saying over half of those were millennials and Generation Z. And in Florida, they're showing that over half were elderly people, the 65 and above group that people thought were going to be mailing them in. But they said, no, we don't trust you either. We're going in. So I'm extremely excited and enthusiastic. Since everybody likes to say that people are not enthusiastic about Joe Biden, I'm extremely enthusiastic. Maybe if we start saying it, they'll stop lying, saying we're not.
They'll still lie. Just quickly, I wanted to add that, I'm really proud that, my alma mater, Texas Southern University, took upon our mayor's challenge to march to the polls. And TSU, I think, was ranked very high when compared to all the other universities.
We're number 2 in Texas.
Yes, to have such a large turnout. So shout out to Texas Southern University, the illustrious Texas Southern University. I think, Bria, what's your thoughts on this?
I am also proud of our alma mater, Texas Southern University, and all of the things that they're doing. And I was almost in tears last week when I saw the numbers of Harris County, and then when the other counties, but more so Harris County, and then seeing what Georgia and Florida were doing. Texas alone had almost 2 million new people to register to vote. And I don't always get so enthusiastic about polls, but if you look and read between the lines, if you look at 2016, how many people voted, how many new people registered to vote. You look at this current election, how many people registered to vote. I don't think these people registered to vote to keep things as status quo. I think these people registered to vote because they see that there is a problem. It is limpid that Trump needs to be removed from office by any means necessary. And I'm very happy that people are taking their right to vote seriously, especially minorities, Black people who over 50 years ago did not have this right. So I really do think that these people who are registering to vote, they need change. They want change. And I really do think that Biden will be the next president. And I was very excited about what Bloomberg did as far as paying the fines of those people who had outstanding fines. And I kept reading online and as well as publications and newspaper articles that were saying that he was buying votes. And I'm like, how insipid can you be? He's not buying votes. But I'm pretty sure if these people could vote, but if they could not pay their fines, they probably would vote a certain way. And that's what's upsetting people, is that you have these new voters, people who were felons and could not vote. Now they have the right to vote. I really do think that that's going. We know Florida is a battleground state, and I really think Florida, after this election, will be blue and won't no longer be a battleground state. Prayerfully, hopefully.
Who's at
And I think this
719
number.
right now?
Hmm?
Whose numbers are those?
I think that so I was pulling up the numbers for Harris County. So this is provided by khou.com, and that just to show you how many people are actually coming out to vote, and it's such an impressive number. And I think if I'm not mistaken, 4 million ballots have been cast in Texas alone.
Mm-hmm.
Which
we're at 35 million plus nationwide already.
Yeah. And that's definitely significant. And there was something I wanted to add on that, but for some reason it's not coming back to my mind.
But wait a minute, what Brill was saying, I did want to piggyback off of that, because what is illegal or should be illegal is the corporate president of the company in Florida that in his he has a bunch of blue collar. It's like a warehouse or something. There's over 300 employees. In their envelope with their check, he told them that they may lose their jobs if Joe Biden wins the election. That, first off, that should be illegal. I cannot believe that is not illegal.
Where was that?
Literally in Florida. But he literally told them your job is on the line if you don't vote. But I was proud to see they said 15 people quit on the spot because they could not believe that he did it. And they said that over 200 went straight to the union and reported it. That is ridiculous. That reminds me of Nevada in 2016. People forget. In 2016, Donald Trump had his management team at 2 of his hotels and casinos to let all the employees know that their jobs would be in jeopardy if he did not win. And that was legal. These are all forms of voter suppression that we are ignoring.
Something I wanted to add on that, and this is to counter that narrative that Democrats never done anything. If we know that such a large percentage of African Americans are, how were once locked up or have felonies on their records or have outstanding fees, you can now say, or at least you should realize that, well, it was a Democrat who would pay off your fees. And so at least realize that there are people out there making a difference. Now, whether he would have done that outside of these unique circumstances, I can't answer that. But the fact is, a Democrat did it. What other Republicans have you seen go to that extent in order to help you participate in your civic duty? And so, talking about duty, we have our hottest topic of the night with Ice Cube melting under pressure, and he felt that it was his civic duty to reach out to the political campaigns and to give the contract with Black Americans. I believe that's what it's called, or Black America. Yeah. And, I think it's a very interesting thing. So right before we hop on, we're going to talk about, we're going to show this clip real quick where he was on the Roland Martin show, and he was definitely put under the fire.
I've never met Donald Trump a day in my life. Got it. And I've never been to the White House. Okay. You have to look at the contract with Black America and see where the overlap is.
So what's in their plan that they actually took from yours? Because I've gone through their plan line by line. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't see what's in the plan they released that even mirrors what's in yours.
Well, you got, if I'm looking at it, agreeing to direct VC money to Black investment companies up to $40 billion.
See, a lot of people have been talking about this $500 billion. That's not going to Black people. The thing for me is this here. I judge folks on what you do. And what I look at is Donald Trump goes to Atlanta, makes this big announcement about his platinum plan. And I'm sitting there going, so for instance, I'll pull it up. When I see this plan, and then I see in here where he goes, make Juneteenth a national holiday. Well, first of all, that could happen in July. But Senator Rob Johnson of Wisconsin still been blocked it in the Senate. Donald Trump said nothing, tweeted nothing, did nothing. He said in here also about the anti-lynching bill. Same thing. Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky stood up, blocked it in the Senate. Donald Trump said nothing, did nothing. In May, when the Biden this is what it's called, the Lift Every Voice, the Biden plan for Black America. I went through the entire plan and broke it down. I went through the Trump platinum plan and broke it all down. The issue for me is that when it comes to Trump's plan, there's no specificity. There just simply isn't. Even when you talk about programs, I will say when I go through Biden's program, when he's talking about state small business credit initiative, expand new markets tax credit, improve and expand the SBA program that most effectively support black-owned businesses, and laying things out that are specifics, that's the deal. I'm looking at a 22-page plan from Biden and a 1-page plan for Trump, and I'm sitting there.
Do you think that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization? Because I know for the last year I've been getting death threats. I have security now 24/7 because Donald Trump and his administration has been targeting me and Patrice and Opal and thousands of other activists across the country. But I am just curious about how you meet those things and how you match those things. How do you put forward a black agenda with the president that is attacking black people, attacking black organizers, attacking black activists, and literally daring and threatening to throw us in jail for the organizing that we've been doing?
Well, if we're not in contact or not talking to a certain administration because we're on another team and they win, then what do? Just sit back and wait?
Platinum Plan versus Contract with Black America versus CBC legislation. You call for your CWPWA calls for ending qualified immunity, banning chokeholds, and elimination of no-knock warrants. The CBC says all of that is included in the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, but it hasn't been enacted by the folks there in Congress. I mentioned Juneteenth, the federal holiday. The same thing about anti-lynching law. Your contract calls for baby bonds of $1,000 for all new babies. The CBC says that's in their CBC's Jobs and Justice Act. You proposed a plan for neo-reconstruction. The CBC said we gave President Trump a 125-page detailed plan to do this in 2017. 4 years later, we've seen nothing. And according to the CBC, and I want you to respond to this here. According to the CBC, you propose a one-time interest-free home loan for qualified black Americans. The CBC says, quote, this plan only addresses access to a loan for certain black people. It does not address necessary relief provisions to prevent foreclosures and expand forbearance for homeowners, but the CBC Jobs and Justice Act does. And so what the Congressional Black Caucus says is the things that you're saying that these things have not been done, haven't been focused on, they say it has been done. It's literally in our bills. They were passed by the House, but ignored by the Senate. The Black Census Project that Alicia was working on, they dropped in 2019. She's saying they have been working on those things. And so just your response to that was, especially the CBC saying, no, it's actually in our bills that have been passed. But they were passed by the House, but ignored by the Senate.
My thing is keep up the good work. Keep going at it. We got to get it passed.
Keep up the good work, and we got to get it passed. I think.
Wait, before we get into it, you were these chipmunk videos.
Look, it was so much. It was a whole hour.
I know it was a lot to cover. But I don't know if it's possible. But I had to listen fast. Like, I don't know if you can listen fast. I have to listen fast.
Actually, to be honest, I watch all of my YouTube videos at 2x speed. Like, if anything I'm watching, I'm like, hurry up and give it to me. But no. Oh
my God. Bria, I want to hear from Bria first, because Bria didn't go into it, but Bria definitely has worked in hip hop radio for over 2 decades. I know at least. For over 2 decades. And so I'm curious to know your thoughts on not just cubes, but also 25 cent. So let's merge it if we can.
Well, like you said, I have worked in major market radio for over 2 decades, and I have met Ice Cube and 50 Cent on several occasions, and both gentlemen are down to earth, lovely people. I have to say that 50 Cent, what he posted didn't surprise me because he's a notoriously known troll. But Ice Cube, I'm like, really? You were with the movement before there was a movement. And I'm not just speaking about F the police, but after that, when you started with the Death Certificate album, he's always been for the people. And at first I posted on my Facebook page, what do you all think? Because I didn't want to give my opinion. I see what Ice Cube was trying to do because he reached out to both camps. But the timing is a little off for me, for the simple fact that I honestly believe those of us who have not voted early, we already know who we're going to vote for. We have another debate coming up, a couple more debates coming up, but for the most part, there's nothing that can be said or done by either candidate that will make us change our mind. But there is a myriad of people, Black people, who are on the fence about who they want to vote for. And Wendell, you said this earlier, Ice Cube can probably sway them because they are on the fence. And I understand what he was trying to accomplish and trying to do, but the time is off. And when he threw out there, I reached out to both campaigns, and Biden's camp said, we will address this after the election. It made me go and read his initiative and read Trump's crass platinum. And just the name alone turns me off and made me not want to read. But I went and read what Ice Cube submitted and read what Trump had. And the only thing they implemented from what Ice Cube had was maybe two things, a paragraph. So it not changed substantially. You know, it didn't change a copious amount. It did not change enough to make me want to change my mind. So I'm thinking, my personal opinion is, we're so close to the election, and I know this was done months ago, but we're at the end basically. I feel like maybe he could have presented his plan to who the winner. And I honestly don't think Trump can say he's going to invest $500 billion into Black communities. You have not even finished building a wall. You couldn't even get $5 million for this magical wall that was supposed to keep out illegal immigrants. So I don't even believe you would invest $5 million, let alone $500 billion into the Black community. So I want to say that Ice Cube's efforts, I appreciate them. I just think it was the wrong timing. And 50 Cent, he's a troll. I really think he was joking, but again, wrong timing. Because now you have people who are like Donald Trump's son. He's manipulating photos. You have a photo of Ice Cube and 50 Cent, which is real. They were at a game together and they both had on ball caps, but he manipulated the photo and had black hats, but it said Trump. And so now Ice Cube was upset about that and called him the N-word. I don't know what that would change, but I feel like he opened Pandora's box. You know, you can't get into bed with Trump and expect to come out of something clean. It just doesn't happen. Look at everybody who's involved with Trump. Look what has transpired. So
exactly.
Yeah. I understand what he was trying to do, but it's just the wrong time. And hopefully, with whoever's elected, Biden, he can work with Biden to help, you know, things that would benefit our communities, Black communities. But yeah, wrong time. Too close to the election, and I don't see how it can change anything really.
Yeah, I agree with Bria wholeheartedly. It is terrible timing, but I'm all about this accountability and responsibility and accountability thing these days. And I don't buy it. I think that he made a mistake, and the Black man in him will not allow him to say, I made a mistake. Like, I think that he will not just come on back and say, hey, I thought that Donald Trump was going to actually be about something, but I see he's the same guy I already knew he was. But instead, he's like trying to fight it. The reality is he is being extremely cavalier. In that conversation with Roland Martin, he was given the opportunity to fess up. Roland gave him the opportunity to fess up that you made a mistake and you were a pawn in his game and you didn't realize it, and he did not take that opportunity. Instead, he tried to make it seem like, well, I gave Joe Biden and the Democrats, but they said, they kind of like threw me to the side. No, they told you the right thing. They told you that we have a 22-page plan that we have over 35 average Black Americans worked on and had focus groups in actual Black communities to develop. Why would we drop this within 40 days of the election to pick up what you did? That would be called pandering, sir. But instead, he opted to go with the one who would pander him, only to come today and say, nigga, please, when Eric Trump retweets this picture out with this lie on it that was fake. But that nigga,
and Twitter and Facebook pointed that out.
Right. But that nigga, please should have been more of an explanation. I am not endorsing y'all. This is not a real picture, blah, blah, blah. But instead, he just said, nigga, please, because the nigga inside of him will not allow him to own up to the fact that he made a mistake. And then the same woman that you just showed at the Roland Martin interview, she was really pressing him. And she said one thing that really stuck out the most. She said, why didn't you come to an organization like Black Lives Matter and use your name? She said, do you know what your name would have done for our fight?
Mm-hmm.
But instead, you opted to create your own thing. We could have educated you rather than the Congressional Black Caucus embarrassing you, showing you that
Yes.
every single thing that's in your plan, your 18-point strategy, has already been put out there. But the Republicans that you ran to are the ones that won't pass it. So she was like, "You could have come to us," and his response was, "Well, y'all should have contacted me. Who the hell are you, Ice Cube?" That was cavalier as hell. That was him saying, "I'm Ice Cube." Yeah, you are Ice Cube. Stick to rapping and not being a good actor, but getting paid millions for it. We applaud you for your no talented ass acting. And we applaud you for your bubblegum rap from the 90s because it wouldn't make it today. You don't rap fast enough. You don't think on your feet well, obviously, because in every interview you have been a flop. You should have bust out with a rap in those interviews. But this is a man in 2018 put out a song specifically about Donald Trump. So I'm with Bria 100% because he has been in the fight. He's been there saying Donald Trump he's destroying our country. So why did you get in bed with him? Because he entertained you? And then away from that, I'm going to let it go. So good luck and say his piece. But who in the hell made you the voice of Black America? These are questions that we have to start asking ourselves. Just because you are of celebrity status doesn't mean you can speak for me. You've been in a bubble since 1989. So your world is not the hood that you came out of in the 80s is not the hood we live in today. The struggles we live in today, you haven't met in quite some time. So you are not at liberty to create a contract for me. So be careful with that. So that's why he should have gone to Black Lives Matter. He should have gone to the NAACP. He should have gone to that Afro pessimist organization. Like there are a million places he could have gone to lend his name and to create enthusiasm versus trying to go against him. He's on defense when he should have been playing offense. And that's just the truth.
And I 100% agree with that. Now, one thing I wouldn't say 100, 99.9%. I actually did like Are We There Yet and the sequel, but I was young at the time, so that's probably I was just impressionable. But that's
he was in good movies. He was just a bad actor.
I like this, the grumpy.
Well, I mean, I like the haves and the have-nots, but I like the haves and the have-nots because it's catchy and I like it. But the reality is, it's terrible acting. Like,
yes,
it is what it is.
that I will agree. That
I love Cadillac Records, but we know Beyonce was not an Oscar winner.
Yeah, let's get back to the cube melting. So I do agree, and I think one of the issues that I had was when she asked him that question. He was saying, well, at the time I was rapping, I was an artist, I was doing all this stuff. And this is like as if he was the peacock who finally lifted his head out the ground and then realized that everything's going on. And then he said, well, I'm going to be the one to fix it. I'm going to represent Black America. And now you're going to have to sign a contract with me in order to reach all the rest of America. And some people tried to compare him to MLK, Martin Luther King Jr. And I just felt like, that there is no logical comparison that you can make because MLK put himself out there and he won the support of those who marched with him. He had some credibility of that time. The issue that I had with Ice Cube is that you've been out the game for too long. You had your head in the ground for too long for you to actually be able to now say, well, things wasn't happening, so now I wanted to make it happen. I think the best part of that video was the very end, and I hate that it was rushed, but we got to do what we can do with our time limit. But the fact is that so many things that he was proposing was already in the works. And they pointed out the fact that the Democratic House actually passed these, and then the Senate is the one that's holding it back. So instead of you taking your head out the ground, researching, contacting all of these organizations, and trying to now use your platforms and present a cohesive approach, it's something that you can actually present. Now you're looking like a fool. And, I don't know the guy personally, but I think it just shows that he had this half-baked idea and he started running with it before actually fleshing it out. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that, something it's kind of about it, but not really. But I've been talking to a lot of friends, and some of them don't want to vote for Biden simply because of that crime bill. And I tried to remind them that at the time, he, according to him and other resources, he had the support of the Congressional Black Caucus at the time, and they were in support of it. And so they would have this grudge against Biden for presenting it. And of course, it has some bad ramifications at the end. But this goes back to the people trying to jump in halftime and then complain about how things are working. If you understand the ramifications of that bill and you're against Biden for whatever reason, then also look at those people who supported it and see what have you done to either contact them to see that they are now currently apologizing for whatever mistake or trying to fix whatever mistake, or just acknowledging that. I hate when people only blame one person who's in the spotlight for one particular for a particular bad deed, but they don't try to fix the system that was connected to it.
Well, but you have to remember, like, the reality, and I know Bria definitely want to get in on this one, but you have to remember that in their defense, Joe Biden wasn't just a person that was in favor of it at the time. He is one of the ones that authored it. He wrote the crime bill.
But with the support.
Well, I'm going to get to
leaders.
that because, yeah, I'm going to get to that. But he wrote it, so you have to own that. He has to own it, which he has owned it. He has owned it. But this is my thing with it. First off, I'm tired of millennials and Generation Z crying about a bill that did not affect their lives directly. They were not even born when the bill went into play. It probably was their it was probably their granddad, or it was probably their uncle, or maybe their older brother. But the reality is, their granddad, their brother, or their older uncle, they broke the law also. That's the first thing. So the crime bill did not just go pick out black men and say you're going to go to jail. Well, we don't have to say allegedly, because if they went to jail, that means they were convicted. It's not allegedly. If they went to jail,
they may not be guilty. You know, they can be found guilty by a jury, but you know how juries can be corrupted.
I'm not, but I'm not trying to debate about that.
Separate point. Yeah.
Well, I'm not trying to debate about that because they still were convicted. So I'm not going to debate on if they were legal, if they did it or did not. They still broke the law, and at least the court system
they were convicted
they broke
at
the
least.
law. Mm-hmm. So therefore, it's not allegedly they went to jail. But people have to remember that the Crime Act bill was 49 pages. They are dealing with one page of a 49 page. It unlocked over $500 million for black communities specifically to rebuild after what the crack epidemic did to those communities. My grandfather's church is one of those churches that benefited from it because they would steal, I don't know if you call it metal or whatever. It was some type of stuff around the air conditioning, the copper. They were stealing it and selling it to make money for drugs. And my grandfather's church was a small church, but they had to keep doing it. Then my grandfather's house sat on 2 acres of land. He had to get a huge gate put around the house because they started stealing the copper around at the air conditioner at the house. Then he had to get burglar bars on all the windows because they were trying to break in. These are the realities of why the Crime Act bill came to be. So we cannot, and we know that it came from somewhere. We know the systematic racism played a huge role in it, but it doesn't take away the fact that there was an issue. There was an issue. Now, the other reality is Bill Clinton and Joe Biden were not the ones that were sitting on those, was not the judge that was abusing the Crime Act bill, the three strikes law, because they nowhere in the bill did it say a minimum or a maximum. Those judges were the ones abusing it. And if you want to be clear, you go look through history, you will find that it was Republican judges that were mainly doing it in Republican states at the time. Texas was the leader of the pack. So I think that is so important that we get over that. Now, away from the Crime Act bill, the reality is Donald Trump was not a politician, but it did not stop him from putting millions of dollars on the head of the Central Five, the five guys that went to jail and that were innocent, that were literally innocent, and they were kids. And Donald Trump put millions of dollars on top of their head. Donald Trump was not in politics, but he settled $5 million with 10 different plaintiffs in 1974 through 1976 because his leasing agent management did not want to lease to black people. These are realities. So I don't want to hear the hoopla of a slave nigger when they want to say what Joe Biden did, because Donald Trump was the one that did it. Joe Biden was ignorant at the time, just like everyone else was ignorant during those times. If black people were slave owners and white people were slaves in the 1800s, I would have had a yard full It was normalized. And you are lying to yourself if you say that you would not have done something that was normalized. So what we saw in the 70s with Joe Biden was they were coming out of being educated that this is not okay. But we're looking at over 400 years of it being okay. So it wasn't going to happen overnight. We love to seek a forgiveness, but we never like to forgive others. We always want someone to forgive us and say we've evolved. I'm not the person I used to be. But yet it's so difficult for us to say that about someone else. The reality is he is a man of a particular age and he made mistakes. I'm nowhere near his age, but guess what? I've made so many damn mistakes. Every time I look around, I have to ask somebody for forgiveness. Because the reality is, as long as you are alive, you are going to continue to make mistakes. We are not gods and goddesses. We have to get over that. So I don't want to hear that. Black men that are jumping on board with 50 Cent, black men that are, and I agree with Bria that 50 Cent, after I went and looked at his Instagram, I saw, and I can agree that he was being childish, but it's going to cost us. But the Puff Daddy, the holding your vote hostage, the Charlemagne, purposely, intentionally going after Joe Biden, but never had Donald Trump on the show at all, but he's inviting him for months and never saying anything about that other than the fact that he invited him and he would not come. But the person who accepted your invitation, you brought him in to try and make a joke out of them. So we're not saying anything about these realities. But the reality is heterosexual black men that I'm finding to be the most uneducated black men, not the educated and the intellectual black men, but the very uneducated, the shoulda, woulda, coulda Negroes are literally jealous at the fact that black women are being seen as more than just a background singer in the Democratic Party. Finally, they are given the lead mic to do the solo, and black men are saying, but what about us? Black women never said, what about y'all, when there was only black men that were mayors of cities, only black men that were being placed on city councils, only black men that was in Senate, only black men that was in the House of Representatives. So I don't want to hear that. And then my favorite yesterday was someone said, what they're doing everything for black women and black gay men. Are you serious? And I told the fool, give me one piece of legislature that was written specifically for a black woman. Give me one bill that was created specifically for a black gay man. Are you serious? These are realities. The reality is y'all are jealous when you should be praising them, because when they elevate black women, they're elevating you, because that black woman stood by you for decades, for centuries, coddling you, rubbing your emotions, making themselves small so you can seem bigger. And how dare you now have an attitude as though the Democratic Party has done something to you? And one more fallacy before we go to Bria. I'm sick of people saying the Democrats have not done anything for black people. That is a complete lie. We are a long way from Jim Crow. We are a long way from the civil rights. We are a long way from slavery, period. We're a long way from 1999. So to say that is almost giving a slap in the face to our ancestors that fought for so many rights for us. So how dare we act as though they've not done anything? Do you know that 50% of the House of Representatives are black and brown people? Or somebody said, well, only 10, never had more than 10 Democratic, black Democrats on the Senate at a time. We've never had more than one black Republican senator at a time. Mind you, Tim Scott is the second Republican senator that's black in our history. So we have to stop saying that. We have to stop pushing these narratives that are simply not true. To say that we have not accomplished anything is slapping your mother and father that put your ass through college in the face. It is slapping them. It is slapping their hard work. When I was a child, my mother had to work her butt off. We were latchkey kids. I see women my mother's age. My mother died at 41 years old. I see kids, young women that are younger than my mother, that have less education than my mother, that can probably say they're able to school their kids from home comfortably. To say that we haven't made it anywhere is absolutely insane. I'm not saying that we have to stop fighting, but I'm saying it's okay to acknowledge where we have come from.
Yeah.
And we have to stop being apologists. And I think Joe Biden has to stop being an apologist. I think Kamala Harris has to stop being an apologist. I would say, kiss my ass. I did what I felt was right at the time. I made the best decision that I could have in that moment with the education that I had. You have to remember that this was a time where a man could slap a woman on the ass and it'd be okay. When in 2020, if a man said a woman have a nice ass, he will lose his job. This is a completely different world. That's all I gotta say.
I want to add one thing.
I
know, right? Look, that was a whole show on its own. But I wanted to say one thing, and then we'll let Ms. Bria speak on this too. Another moment that stood out to me during that clip, and we didn't show the whole clip, it was a whole about an hour long, is the fact that she made an appeal to him. She said, first she asked, do you believe that BLM is a terrorist organization? And she went on to say that we have literally been attacked by the rhetoric of Trump, and as a result, been threatened by his supporters. And he didn't provide an ounce of empathy for her, despite all of the work as a strong African-American Black woman that she has put to fight for her people. All he had to say was the fact that, well, we good work and got to get it passed. That's unacceptable. When you talk about how women, have been supporting Black men and protecting them, where was her protection? As a fellow African-American man, what did you do to even console her during that moment? Not that she was asking for consolation, but the fact is, you should have recognized that she has been working on this for decades, and her life has been threatened because of her commitment to the cause. And you dare to say that you saw that nothing was being done. I think that's the epitome of ignorance. But Ms. Bria, what you would like to say?
Wow, I have so much to say. Wendell said so much, and I'm trying to unpack it in a timely fashion. But he's right. Black women, we have stood by Black men for centuries. But even in more recent times, when Black men were doing things before women even became Black women, got into politics, we stood back and we had our Black men's back. But it seems that it's not being reciprocated. And when we talk about Senator Harris and the things that she's done, Wendell is right. She was doing her job. And what gets me is everyone is so quick to bring up her record as a prosecutor. But no one looks at the fact that, like Wendell said, you have judges. A prosecutor or an ADA can only recommend a sentence for a crime. It is up to the judge to say yes or no. Go back. I don't think so. These judges were signing off on punishment, and no one brings up, well, what if she put forth the punishment and the judge gave the person more or less? They just look at one aspect of her her record as a prosecutor. But Wendell's right. They did commit some sort of crime, and what's sad is, and I think this is what you were trying to say, good luck. There are some people, maybe they've been convicted or went to jail and they were innocent. We all know that there are some people that are innocent, the Central Park Five and even some lesser known cases. And I understand that, but we're talking about these people who put themselves in a certain type of position. And I'm not saying throw a book at these people, but he's right. When you look at the crime bill, people only look at one section and they run with it. And even on social media, I have to ask people, did you read the crime bill? Do you know what all it entailed? And Wendell is right. There are so many things that Black people benefited from in the crime bill. A myriad of things that we benefited from in the crime bill. But Biden, just like Clinton, has apologized for their actions. I'm the type of person, once you apologize, you don't have to keep apologizing. If I feel you're sincere, I accept apology and I move on. What more do people want from Joe Biden? He's apologized. He has said, I since have done some thinking. I've reflected on what I've said, reflected on what I've done, and this is where I am now. I get so tired of seeing that newspaper article from 1977, which is when I was born. That was 43 years ago. I don't care what Biden did 43 years ago because I'm too focused on what Trump is doing now. The things that he's doing now. And I do agree that Those were the times. And it's not that we're making up an excuse, but when people apologize and they've moved on, because people do grow. We do grow. Nobody's perfect. And I'm not the person I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So I don't expect people to be the same 43 years. It's 43 years has elapsed. So I do think that Ice Cube could have reached out to Tamika Mallory or the two sisters who started the Black Lives Matter movement, or even he's in California. The perfect person he could have went to was Maxine Waters. There are so many people he could have gone to.
I was just thinking about Kim Foxx. Kim Foxx is a Chicago prosecutor. And Kim Foxx was under fire after Jussie Smollett. Now she's under fire because the killings that were happening in Chicago, and she was refusing to prosecute them. Then they was bringing in protesters that were Black, and she was letting them out, saying that they were full, they were congested, because she was doing what people would like Kamala to have done, right? But look what it's costing her. She has to go in front of the bar in January because the Republican Party has put lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit on her. And I'm almost willing to say that she may lose her license to practice because she was letting people, Black men, free. And they did break the law. And look what it is costing her. But how many times have you seen an Ice Cube come out to speak on her behalf? How many times have you seen a 50 Cent come out to speak on her behalf? How many times have you seen a Jussie Smollett that started her to having the magnifying glass on her? How many times have they came out to speak on her behalf when right now this woman is literally fighting for her career that she struggled, got over $150,000 in debt behind capturing, and all she's trying to do is protect Black men, and it is literally costing her her career. This is the problem that I have. I think Black women, Black men, Black gay men have to stop coddling each other. We have to stop. I think Black women do not get the respect they need because Black women don't demand the respect they need. I love Tiffany Cross. She's one of my favorite new journalists, right? But she did something so disturbing on Friday evening, and it hurt my heart. She went on Twitter after she made a comment on her show, on not her show, but she was a pundit on someone else's show, and she was talking about Ice Cube, and she was holding him to the fire correctly. He came on Twitter talking yang about her. She retweeted what he said, and she said, well, come on the show, and I'll talk to you. Then she retweeted, I do think the Democrats should have at least listened to him. You're an apologist now. You just allowed him to make you deflect off of the real problem. You just made Joe Biden and the Democratic Party the problem because he scared you, because you don't want to look like you are not upholding Black men. And it made me lose respect for her. So I think Black women have to start demanding the respect that they deserve and that they are entitled to. They have to stop dropping down so quickly.
I definitely agree with what you said, and I think it's time for hard lines, and it's past time, trying to balance the act. So I hope y'all have enjoyed this show. We appreciate our special guests who have provided such wonderful insight to Bria Grice, and we're grateful. If y'all can share this show, follow us on all of our platforms. We're on Instagram at Truth to Power T2P. We're on Twitter at Truth to Power Pod 1. We have our YouTube channel at Truth to Power Podcast. And we want to give a special shout out to the rest of the co-hosts. We co-host Dr. Aurelia Johnson. I'm speaking into existence. She has finished her process. So congratulations to her. We're excited for her accomplishment, for Black excellence being on display. And as y'all seen, she is no joke. She knows her stuff, and we're excited to be able to share this platform with her. Also to Dr. Candace Matthews and to our other co-host, Dean Sell. So we hope you enjoyed the show.
Well, I want to end with a quote in the name of Dr. Matthews. We have to end with a quote in the name of Dr. Matthews, because she would go crazy because she loves ending with the quote, because her philosophy is you should leave with something. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. And that is by James Baldwin.
Ooh, I wish we had a show just to unpack that. That's so relevant in this time. But
vote blue. Vote blue.
Go
vote
vote.
blue. I don't choose, baby.
Go vote. That's all I'm gonna say. Well, thank you again for tuning in. If you haven't shared the show, we are doing this show just for you. If you have any ideas as to where we can take this show, feel free to reach out to us at 2020 truth to power at gmail.com. We will be look forward to your emails. If you have a special, just reach out if you have any ideas. So we're excited. And check us out this Thursday. We have a very, very interesting interview that you do not want to miss. Okay. And then we also want to make a quick shout out that the presidential debate is the third one, because the second one was canceled, but the third one and final one for this season will be this Thursday. So we're going to let you know when we're going to go live and talk about what was discussed at this debate. Hopefully it's better and more substantial than the last one, but only time will tell. But I'm excited. I was excited to see Biden's performance at his town hall, so hopefully he brings some of that energy at this debate. So all right, until we see y'all again, y'all take
vote
care.
Blue. Vote blue.
Go vote. All right, y'all.
I ask no favor for my sex. All I ask of our brethren is that they take their feet off our necks.
And that little girl was me.